NERDSoul.
I know there probably wasn't a dry in the house by the end of that. What'd you all think? Wasn't that absolutely incredible? Yes, so powerful. Well, thank you so much for being here, and also those of you who chose to stay later. We certainly have a treat. We're going to be doing a Q&A with Tendo Nagenda. Yes, and Tendo actually is the Executive Vice President of Production and worked clearly on this movie, which is an incredible feat. He oversees a slate of live-action feature films through development, production, physical production, and post-production. His most recent films, which we will all recognize, is 2015's blockbuster live-action movie adaptation of Cinderella, the critically acclaimed Saving Mr. Banks, and the inspirational drama McFarland USA. He's currently working on Queen of Katwe, and as well as Beauty and the Beast, starring Emma Watson, A Wrinkle in Time with Ava DuVernay, and Dumbo with Tim Burton. And we are honored and privileged to have him with us tonight. Tendo, please, let's all give a warm round of applause. Isn't this just a gift of a movie?
Hello, thank you guys for staying.
Tendo, please tell us, how did this come across your desk? How did this script, just even like what was the creative behind it, and then how did it make it to Disney?
Kind of a unique story. I've been at Disney about 6 years, and this came across my desk as an article from ESPN the magazine, which is also owned by Disney. My friends at ESPN Films, who started the 30 for 30 documentary series, read an early version of an article about Phiona. Thought it would make a good movie and asked what we thought. They were looking to make movies with the studio. I read it. They didn't know that my father is from Uganda, and I moved to Uganda when I was 12 years old. So I connected to the story on that level, and at the same time I was working on a live-action Cinderella film, which is an underdog story, and I felt this was an underdog story, but maybe even more incredible because it was a true story. And so I just started developing the script for the better part of 4 years before we got to make the movie.
Wow, and that 4 years should encourage all the filmmakers in the house. You know, you're like, yes. You know, a lot of times we have projects that we're developing or writing, and it takes years, and it can feel like, why is it taking so long? But at the end of it, there's a manifestation like this, which is so incredible. And would you say it's worth the wait?
It's definitely worth the wait, and it tests whether the story is actually worth telling, because there's many points where you could give up on it, but this wouldn't give up.
And I love that you have a personal connection to Uganda. It's funny, when I was watching the movie, I don't know if you were here earlier, I've worked with David on 2 movies.
Yes,
and
Middle of Nowhere.
Yeah.
As well.
And I saw one of my other castmates from Treme, Natari Mwende.
Who's also Ugandan.
Yes, who's Ugandan, and I was wondering about that. I was wondering just your casting process, how David and Lupita became attached, and then also, was it local casting, or did you specifically find, because I loved seeing Natari in there. I said, you know, I know he's Ugandan and very proud of being Ugandan, yeah. So I wondered, how did the cast come together?
Well, you know, the key to the cast and the movie really was the director, Mira, Nair, who came onto the project probably 3.5, 4 years ago. And when she came on, we sort of rewrote the whole script, and she lives half the time in Uganda, half the time in New York. She started living in Uganda when she made a movie called Mississippi Masala with Denzel Washington years ago. So she knows the place really well. And what's not known, but I'll tell you, is Lupita and Mira have known each other 9 or 10 years. So before Lupita won an Oscar and became famous, she worked for Mira on The Namesake, and she also attended her film school, which is based in Uganda, and made a documentary there. So they go way back. And in the midst of developing this, 12 Years a Slave happened, and we had always sort of wondered who would play the mother character, and from right there we started developing it as a young Mother Courage, trying to get the script good enough for Lupita. Sent it to Lupita, she said yes, and that was right around the time that Selma kind of happened and blew up, and we sent it. We had always thought about David because he looks so similar to the real character, but he just had a moment and he said he wanted to do it. So once those two said they wanted to do it, we were kind of rolling, but we'd actually started the casting process for the young kids about a year or 6 months prior to even going to Lupita, just to try to find kids that could be authentic, and none of the kids in the film had ever acted before.
Is that amazing? Please, yes, we have to honor the children. Incredible.
Yeah, they were really something. And Mira, her first movie was Salon Bombay. She worked with non-professional actors. She really knew how to work with kids. And then Lupita and David really brought them along as well. And then Antari, it's a small community. He heard about the film, said, "Where's a role for me?"
Hello, right?
And he
I know you got one scene for me,
yeah.
And it's a beautiful scene. I mean, it's it's layered, it's complex, right?
It's one scene, but it hopefully it sticks to your ribs a little bit.
Oh yeah. Now, you personally, because I feel like at a studio you always need somebody there to sort of be a champion, right, for a movie. Because otherwise it can kind of come and then it can go if you don't have somebody fighting for it. And how did you know this is, because it feels like this was a part of your purpose, to fight for this film and to fight to get it to this place where we could see it. And this could have easily, I feel, have been an independent film that maybe some of us have seen, maybe some of us didn't see, maybe we heard about, in the past. But the fact that Disney, the brand of Disney, would come, and push this type of movie that is going to be worldwide, starring blacks. We can't hide from the fact that a lot of times in this industry it's always questionable of how it's going to do overseas, and is there really going to be that that kind of currency when it comes to African or African American talent. Did you end up having to fight any battles behind the scenes, or negotiate in certain ways, or convince people, yes, it's a beautiful film and it's going to be a successful film?
Yeah, a lot of battles on this one. But the truth be told, I think things happen when they're supposed to happen, and this film really took everything I'd learned making every film and working in the business to sort of make it happen, and then make it happen successfully. And we're still in the fight to try to get the movie out in theaters and get people to go see it, and tell everybody they know and hopefully like it. So yes, I mean, I stuck with the movie. Part of the reason that I got into the business is just because I believe that film is an international language, so it travels all over the world, and having lived in Africa for a bit and traveled pretty extensively, you see how films resonate. Television is amazing, but it becomes more regional, or it's harder to sort of go back and watch all of The Sopranos, but people are still watching The Godfather as an example, right? And so when you have a film, you can really tell a story, and you can take people to places they couldn't otherwise go. And I think it's a lot easier to assume things about places you haven't been, but having been to different places, I see that there's more that connects us that really divides us, and that's part of the reason I went to Disney, because it's a global company. When you go out with a movie, you're trying to go worldwide, whether it be this film, Cinderella, or Ava DuVernay's Wrinkle in Time. We're trying to travel all over the world, be shown in Russia, China, and every place else. And a lot of the issues I think that we have as a human race is that we sort of make assumptions about each other. We don't know each other, and so we think that there's more that divides us. So I wanted to make it for that reason, and then I also wanted to tell a story about Africa that's different from the stories that we've seen before, which are also good. I mean, historical, political, there's a lot of worthy stories to be told, but then there's contemporary Africa and non-political stories that are also important. And so Disney telling this story was important. I worked at Plan B for Brad Pitt. I worked at a lot of places that make really good films. I don't know that I would have made this film there, or that those places, I might have tried, but those places might not have been the best place to make the film. So to me, it says something that Disney made the film, and it says something hopefully about Disney, that they would make it and make it with people, not where there's a Western savior or something like that, but where the people are there and they pull themselves up.
Look, you felt that, right? You got that African, they give you the African Kleph. I mean, that's, you touched on something, that you don't have this Westerner that sort of flies in and saves the day.
No.
It really is about this community, this group of people, and you see this rising up and this spiritual arising from within the community, which is powerful.
Yeah.
How can we best support you? I mean, we are definitely going to tweet about it, right? We're going to use the hashtag Queen of Katwe and Katwe LA. How else can we support you and support the film and the success of this film?
Well, you guys are taking the first step coming out, seeing the movie. Thank you very much for that. Definitely tell people through your social networks and in real life what you think, because some of it is about being ambassadors for the film, because nobody's heard of Katwe. It seems like a foreign place. Is it a movie for an entire family? Is it a movie that will resonate? If you guys are interpreters and influencers and ambassadors for it, that goes a long way. If you want to support it, we have group sales at adamtickets.com. You can take people to the theater, do group sales for a lot cheaper, and fill theaters, especially on September 23rd when we're out in 15 cities. And then
you got that? September 23rd?
And then September 30th everywhere. So if it's not in a city where you have friends or family that you've been telling about the film, they can see it the following week. 23rd is to try to amplify the 30th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do our part, everybody. Yes. Did you all love the movie? Yes. Let's give some more love. Thank you so much.